Maybelline. Please don't be like Maybelline. Trap but always feeling free. Shapes of life from magazines. I'm talking Maybelline. Sees your eyes but sees your thing. Can never be the one she's meant to be. Everyone's life's a game. I'm singing Maybelline. Think that she's the 17. The guts that tell you what you need.
Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas, and today's surfboard review is on the Lost RNF round nose fish, and we have special guest, pro surfer / Lost board rep,
Yes,
Nate
sir.
Yeomans.
Cheers, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're stoked. So I've been surfing with Nate a little bit out there. Nate's been riding this. This is a PU, right?
PU, correct.
And he's been riding this, and I saw him out surfing. We've been getting some waves on him, and you've been shredding on this thing. So I said, hey, Nate, what do you think about joining us for the review? And here we are.
We're here. We're doing it. Stoked to be here.
Yeah, stoked. Me too. Okay, so maybe we can start just simply just telling us a little bit about you real quick and what you do, and then maybe tell us what size board you're riding and how much you weigh, that kind of stuff.
Cool, multiple questions.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can nail it. So now, I surfed for a long time professionally, and I rode Matt's boards my whole career, and the opportunity came up to enter the workforce and start working for him on the sales side, which is insane because I know the boards, I know him well, and I'm just blessed on the opportunity. Still surfing a couple events. He lets me sneak away and try to nail a couple scores and make some heats, and then day to day selling the boards and on the road getting to surf with you.
Yeah, so I always see you ride. I see you switch boards quite a bit, kind of like I do. You're not always riding the same thing at the same time. But when I saw you on this board, I asked you what you were riding. You're like, RNF Retro. I'm like, me too. And then we flipped it. I'm like, what fins? And we were riding the same exact quad setup too, right?
Thanks to you. You teed me up. I was like, what fins? You actually for on another board, but they worked really well on this board. So, you're spreading the knowledge. Picking it up.
What were you riding on that? It was the
Hayden fins. So initially I rode the split keel fins that Matt made for this board, actually up in Malibu.
Sure.
And it felt really good down the line, but there's so much fin, it didn't pivot as much as maybe I'd like, but it did haul ass at like a wave like Malibu. So then I switched it up, and as you said, I'm blessed to have the boards, and then also Future Fins gives me fins. So I have a bunch of different setups, and it's fun to play around and get different feels out of the same board.
Absolutely. So let's get into a couple attributes of this particular board here that I think need to be touched and talked about. I'll start with something that I feel like really helped me since I struggle a lot on fish type boards.
Yeah.
To ride it as a quad. I've been riding a lot of quads lately, so I was confident that if I put a good quad setup that I was comfortable with, like the Hayden shape, it's a bit more upright. Since we lose that rocker because we're looking for maximum speed on these fish boards, I put that upright fit in because I wanted it to pivot and be able to turn a lot quicker, because I have this mentality that I want to smash every lip that's in my face, and it's probably not the proper way to ride a board like this.
Yeah.
But a couple things that I felt went really good on this board is it has this double side cut in here. So we've got like this little side cut here. Then we have like a hip or bump right here, something to pivot off of. It's reducing surface area right here, and then the side cut again. In boards that have that side cut, I really feel like it has a little bit of grip, and it makes the board turn real quick. You know what I mean? As opposed to maybe a fish that's a really straight rail line.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's just it's gonna help the high performance aspect, which is what Matt I think really does extremely well. Because the classic, I've ridden classic, or if that's a word, round nose fishes that are too straight, and it's just hard to get that pivot, especially in pockety waves, where I think he did a great job blending that into this board. So you get a retro outline, but yet it still is in the high performance realm compared to a lot of the other boards that I think are retro fishes.
Right, so when you pull a board like this out, Nate, and you're going to go surf, do you change the mindset a little bit? Like for me, I kind of felt like I want to do like a little bit more upright And then just do pumps and try and maybe surf a little bit more classic style.
For sure.
Is that how you feel?
I think just looking at it, it just looks fun and inviting. And here in Southern California, we're not always blessed with waves, and sometimes I don't surf trestles. And so small average summer days, this board to me, I just look at it, I'm like, dude, I'm going to the beach today. I'm going to take this board and we're going to hang out with the fam. And when I surf, I'm going to have a blast. So, and within that, I went back on YouTube and watched old classic 70s fish movies to get some inspiration. And I really seemed like you said, surfed a little more upright and even a little further up on the board, just to kind of, I don't know, that classic style of guys, how they rode the boards in the 70s. So yeah, there's definitely some inspiration.
A little bit of an inspiration mindset, right?
For sure.
The other thing I noticed too is that, okay, so I'm riding a stock 5'2", 27.25 liters, which is a little bit on the high side for me. But because it's so short, I felt like I could still get going down the line real fast and still put it in like parts of the wave that I wanted to put it in.
Yep.
And it was still ultra responsive. So I like that about the fish in general, that it's really nice and short, but it's loaded with foam, right? So it's got somewhat of a flat deck. And because it has a flat deck, they can keep the thickness a little bit thinner. I felt like I had good flex.
Yep.
It didn't really matter which one I was riding. Do you feel the same?
And if we can grab this guy, he brought the rail down too, kind of like a snowboard inspired rail. So it's tapered down here in the last 2 inches in from the rail, and then kind of a blended harder edge, which it allows the board to still pivot and you could bury the rail. Whereas if it was like a really full rail, I think it'd be so much foam. Like you said, there's a lot of foam for such a short board. It'd be hard to hit that high performance realm.
Right.
So having that rail brought down allows you to turn it over instead of just aim down the line and go fast. You can still break your line and sink that rail for, like you were saying earlier, you want to crack the lip. Right. It still does it.
So now I want to talk a little bit about the bottom contours. Obviously, the rocker is really flat, so the board's super fast, but that's not the only thing that makes it fast. It's about what's going on underneath. So we've got a light single concave into basically a spiral V back there, right?
Yep. A little bit in front of the fins, that spiral V starts, and with such a wide tail block, it just helps the board turn over.
Right. And that's how it felt under my feet. It feels like it rolls from point to point on the swallowtail real well, right? And then you got the fins as a quad setup, really enhancing that traction with the rail shape and everything. I felt like for a retro fish twin fin quad setup, it had a lot of traction for me.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things sometimes, just a twin. I like the quad with this, can get really loose. Those nice little trailer quad adds just, traction and hold. Still a really fun board and fishy like, but just a little extra traction helps a lot, especially on the high performance stuff.
Right. Okay, so you've got the 5.4 PU and you got it in C4, and it's cool that we both have our own opinion on how something felt or how it goes. Tell us, which one did you like better and why, or maybe just tell us what you like a little bit about each.
I like the classic feel of the PU. I think this board felt snappier and poppier, but just looking at it, I kind of went more towards this board kind of captures how I want to surf.
Sure.
But if you're going high performance and like you were talking about, you like just cracking the lip and just flying and snappiness, this board felt more in that realm. But with the overall shape, I just gravitated towards the PU.
Right. Now,
personal preference.
Let's talk about the C4 construction for a second, right? So EPS, expanded polystyrene, very lively underfoot. I noticed, even when I surfed this board overhead, some texture on the surface, whether it being offshore wind or whatever, it still held the rail real nice. It was engaged, and it didn't feel like it was going to slide out or skip, even riding it as a twin fin, which was a shocker for me.
I saw that, yeah.
And this got this cork foam here. I didn't notice a lot of chatter or vibration either. It felt pretty solid. So can you speak to that for yourself? Or
so I'll kind of break it down. So it's got a whole inlay of cork from nose to tail, rail to rail, and that cork just kind of helps dampen sometimes the negative effects of epoxy, being that it's more buoyant. Some people don't like that feel, and it actually, cliche as it sounds, it rode more like a classic PU in an epoxy construction, but yet you still have that snappy, lively. I think they paddle a little better too because they're a little more buoyant. But it's really cool fusion. And old boards, he had that cork open and exposed, and now they're doing another thing, a cloth over it and tying it in. And I think they nailed it.
Yeah, it feels really good under my feet. The other thing I want to mention, I think you touched on it earlier, was I've surfed this board more than I've surfed the PU, and this construction, the deck of it, is got better. I would say it's more durable.
Yep.
It's got a little stiffer flex compared to the carbon wrap from my perspective. So let's say if I'm standing in the sweet spots right here, if it's stiffer, the board's loading and it's gonna rebound me faster than maybe the carbon wrap. And I also feel like it's a little bit more forgiving than the carbon wrap when my feet aren't in the right spot. And it offers a more consistent spring back compared to the carbon wrap from my perspective.
Yeah.
Right?
Cool breakdown, man. It's fun doing this. Getting just like get all the boards and technologies and someone with your ability. It's just cool to hear all the different feels and functions and
Sure.
you're doing a good job.
Would you
Give
say
you
would you say the carbon wrap you have similar feelings towards that, or would you say it's completely different? I understand maybe putting a carbon wrap on a more of a high performance type board and really getting that pop and stuff.
I think the C4 in these styles of boards really works well. I really liked it in the Puddle Jumper HP. I think you did a review on that one too. But a classic shortboard shape, I really like the carbon wrap. It just had, I don't know, this really snappy extra pop, which in performing and still competing, I like.
Me too.
It kind of brings an X factor out.
Right. So I think what we're saying, we both agree here, is on the performance type shortboards, you want EPS, go carbon wrap.
Yeah.
Get a little extra pop and a little bit more performance feel. If you're looking at more like a hybrid type board and you want the boards to last a little bit longer and still have a good PU feel to it, go C4.
Yeah. And the C4, the durability is insane. I've ridden this board a ton, and it basically looks, if you took the wax off, it looks like I've ridden it once or twice.
So now I want to talk about the versatility of this board with fins. We talked vaguely about fins and what we liked, and we mentioned we're both using the Hayden shape. This is a speed generating fin this is a large fin with a medium quad rears, right? And that felt great. It's a pretty upright fin, and I see that you have the Lost fins in this C4. Tell us about that fin.
They're largest, first of all, and then a little bit larger of a medium rear quad. So that for me, the board's loose, it's a fish, and I like the stability of a bigger fin in this board, and it helps create drive and speed, which is I'm a fan of also. So I've played around with the fins quite a bit. When I first rode it, I rode it at Malibu with these guys, and from what I've noticed, the bigger surfer really likes even more fin, which these offer, and stability, and they're able to push pretty hard on a fish and still get that pushback from larger fins.
Right.
For me personally, it went really fast down the line, but it wasn't pivoting as quick as I'd like, so it was cool to change it up, put these fins in, a more classic style fin with the rake and everything, and not how these keels are built. And that seemed to just allow me to make my turns more precise and tighter in the pocket.
Sure.
And then I think the Haydens were even more so that way, but I think these things had a little bit more speed and drive.
So the next thing I wanted to talk about was, okay, so I rode it specifically with these. I also tried the Rostovich twin fins, and then I put in two small quad rears because the website, the Lost website recommends that. I hated it, and I'll tell you why. This had a lot of speed, but there was so much fin in there, I didn't feel like it was really tight, and I didn't feel like I could turn like I wanted to. So I thought, well, how else could we play with this board? Now, this is a new fin that CI is coming out with. It's kind of like a modern type keel. It's got a ton of depth in the water. It's a really large fin, so look at how big the base is for that kind of speed. And I used this just as a twin fin with no quad trailers, and this board was an absolute blast.
Rad.
So I'm not a good twin fin surfer. I've only surfed maybe one other good twin fin board, and it was hard to keep it from sliding out. But this had great traction, and something that FCS does that's very similar to that fin for the FCS crew is the modern keel. Both fiberglass fins, great hold, and I had a blast on that. So I thought, well, since this was so fun, I wonder how the Rostovich fin would go without any quad rears. And I got a couple waves with this, and it was that loose, skatey, kind of out of control feel, but still had a lot of speed. So I think maybe like waist high and below, you could really get this board playful and fast. And that's one thing I'll say about this board. You can really mess with the fins and get a totally different feel on a board like this. So it's very versatile, but it's got that twin fin vibe to it.
I kept it with the quad setup, so I can't speak for the twin fin, but I think I like this board for down the line. Sorry, these fins for down the line surfing.
The split keels. Okay.
Split keels for just as fast as you can go, and you can turn as hard as you want and they hold. I think I like this fin, and as you said, in the neutral all around, had speed, had drive, and was still able to push more high performance. And I think for me, the Hayden fin was the ultimate high performance, and it pivoted really fast, and in the pocket, I think I pushed my turns more, a little more tail sliding and futuristic surfing, we'll say.
Sure. So we've talked a bunch about the fun things about this board. Let's talk about wave height, and then I have to ask you straight up, Nate, did you have any struggles on this board?
Yeah.
Right? So tell us a little bit about your struggles.
I would say, just to be flat out honest, that the one part of the board that was tricky at times was it's such a flat rocker, which you're going to run in with all boards is going to have this difficulty, and it's such a wide surface area up front, is that it would catch up in this nose area. If you didn't have your foot, I felt like when you're really pushing your surf in back on that tail pad, and the board we were talking about earlier didn't have a tail pad, and it was hard to gauge where I was at without that being on there. And I think what I see a lot, especially with beginner surfers, this board would work really well for, because it is going to be real stable being wider. But if you do get front footed, which a lot of surfers that are starting out seem to do, you'll see them out in the water, a little wider stance to get their balance. But they'll get further up on the board, and that's going to cause them to, with the flatter rocker, it's going to catch up there.
Sure.
So I think anyone that's starting out, just kind of note, hey, when I'm stand up, maybe take a look where you're standing, and avoid that by just getting a little further back. Not even so much your front foot, but just your back foot. So the little amount of rocker, you can engage it back through the tail end.
Absolutely. Okay, so Nate, I felt like I had similar problems, right? And when I first started, I didn't have fish traction pads. I reached out to Creatures. They sent me this one. You can see it's a pad that splits, so you can make it wider if you're riding a really wide tail fish type board. And then it's got a light kick here, which for me, it's just kind of a stop, But I was surfing a Lost pad for regular thruster, even for wider boards, and I felt like I was doing all my turns because I couldn't move the pad back far enough. My foot was on the top of the stop, and I stepped past it a bunch of times. But when I got the Creatures pad, this really helped a bunch. I felt like I started surfing this PU a heck of a lot better, and I find myself, either stopping right here or even right on the stop was like a good target for me. And if I wasn't in that sweet spot on the pad, it would catch here and I'd bog like crazy, right?
Yep.
But when my feet are in the right spot, it felt as good as any board with speed and doing turns, right? Now with the CI one on the C4, you can see this pad is a little bit less kick, different type of traction. And what I did on this one was I took the pad and I cut it out and I made an arch bar, right? And what I'm looking for is like having that. Sometimes riding these types of boards, you can turn it from the middle, like your foot way up here, and more like just kind of like maybe speed carve and down carves and stuff like that. So having that arch bar there felt pretty good. But for me, I really liked the little bit more kick on this Creatures one. So you were talking about throwing a pad on your board, right?
Yep.
So this one's on the house, bro. Creatures hooked this up, so we're going to hook you up.
Thanks,
so you can put that on
I'll
your
take
PU.
That. Yes.
And the other thing I wanted to say is thanks for your honesty on where you feel like the struggles were on this board. The last thing was I felt like both you and I pushed the limits on the height range.
Yeah.
Like waves that are well overhead, probably not ideal for this board for it to be the way it was designed. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think the hard part about these boards is they're so much damn fun. They're hard to get off. So you may push the envelope a little bit. In waves, it was really designed to be ridden in, and I know a couple days down at lowers it was well overhead.
Yeah.
And on some of those sets, you really almost had to tone it down because the board the wave was already had enough speed, and the board generates so much speed that it wasn't the perfect combination. Still fun, challenging at times, but we like to push the envelope, right?
That's right. So let's look at some waves together. Here's the PU. Both boards have a quad setup. This is the Hayden shape, real upright. With the quad, I felt like I could push real hard. The PU has a little bit more of that classic feel to it. A little bit more weight, drawing out the turns, and it's throwing great spray. Look at the C4, EPS foam, a little bit more snap, a little bit more pop and liveliness, and a little bit more performance. PU, nice little top turn right there. Just able to lay it on rail, and it has that good solid feel. Look at the EPS though. I think you can see it. It has more pop to it. Now this wave right here, a little bit bigger, pushing hard on that rail, throwing a nice spray, little bog right there, but then able to finish it really nice with a good solid turn. So here's some twin fin waves. This is the modern keel type fin with CI. It's really got a huge base, so it's got a lot of speed, and the depth is there too, so it's got good hold. This is the Rostovich twin fin. It's got a little bit thicker tip, but you can tell it's a more upright fin. The board's really loose. It's still super fast and playful, but a little harder to control. Now look, this wave's well overhead, probably pushing this board to its limits with the modern keel CI twin fin. Good hold here. Even though I'm riding as a twin fin, you can tell I have to be a little tender on the turns, but watch this roundhouse right here. Because of the rail on the side cut, it had good traction and it held in great. Here's a little bit bigger backside. Still riding that modern keel CI twin fin setup. The board's got good hold. And on this last wave right here, these turns on these smaller waves felt great, and the board can still get playful and loose right there. But for the most part, I loved it as a quad and had a blast as a twin fin. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's review on the RNF Retro Fish by Lost Surfboards. Nate, it's been a pleasure having you. Your opinion, breaking down the board with me, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so I also want to say a shout out thanks for you guys supporting the show, sending these boards down for review. And I know you're in the background going, Noel like this board, Noel like this board. And I really appreciate that, and I believe our community does too.
Yeah, it's cool. You know what? I'm up at the warehouse a lot, so I see them come in. So before you get them, I'm fingering them like, ooh, this thing feels nice. Hopefully you're enjoying it, and we appreciate your support. And the Lost Familia, we're a big fan.
Epic. Hey guys, if you like the show, subscribe. You can also find us at surfandshow.com. But that's it for today. Until next time, we'll see you in the water. Bye-bye.
Shoots.
Sorry. Tell you something about the life, but you can't hear me now. You ain't got no time to see me, cause you're living out. Everything I want to tell you is just walk about, pop, different things. Everybody's got a thing, but the thing just isn't free. Oh, I sing in Maybelline. Please don't be like Maybelline. They know it's feeling free. Nothing's what it ever seems. I'm singing Maybelline. Bye. Maybelline. Please don't be like Maybelline.